Hello, my name is Dr. Charlita Shelton, and welcome to the Professionals Interview for Success. I have spent about 30 years in higher education administration, both as a college president, and currently I am a college president, served at another institution for 7 years in a presidency, but also as a vice president of academic affairs for more than a few institutions. So just as a result of that, I have interviewed many, many times. But I think about my early time spent in higher education as a director of placement. So it's fascinating that I should be, talking with you as the professional about interview skills that will hopefully lend its way to success for you in gaining the job. But as a director of placement, that time was spent with our graduates in ensuring that I could go out and provide those opportunities with companies and corporations to prepare them for that interview, and hopefully they would gain the position. But that was a number of years ago. And current day interviewing, it looks a little bit different, and it's not so much the fundamentals of this notion of dressing for success, although that's important, or the time we may show up for an interview, prior to that interview, the handshake, the eye contact, how we answer questions. I mean, those are some of the things that are routine. There are many in terms of books out there, resources, I should say, out there in improving your interview skills. But there are a few things, and I won't call those items unconventional, but I will say there are things that, as a professional, we need to keep in mind, and you need to keep in mind if you are pursuing a career, if you're pursuing a particular position, that oftentimes is not mentioned. And I think the first piece is understanding that once you're invited to an interview, there is a reason why you are there. It was more than likely that resume that you submitted when the employer could take a look at your skills, your credentials, your qualifications for a particular role. That means that employer has great interest in you, enough interest to bring you in for the interview. Now, knowing that occurs, there's still competitive nature in interviewing, meaning there are other individuals who are interviewing for the same role. So I always say that be confident in interview, but never overconfident. Sometimes we like to go into an interview and just begin selling ourselves, selling our skills, and selling our qualifications, when in fact that information is already in front of them. They've reviewed that. And when you sound like you're selling that, then it sounds like you're kind of selling yourself, overconfidence in it. Not confident enough to understand that there is a reason why you are there for that role. But overconfidence never really helps us, or the notion of having to sell yourself. I say don't sell yourself, be yourself. So there needs to be a level of transparency in terms of your interaction with the interviewer and answering questions. Speak from the head, but speak from the heart. Be your authentic self, who you are. There will be greater appreciation to you being as transparent as you can. I'm not talking about oversharing, if you will, but as transparent as you can about how you would best serve in the role. What you're attempting to accomplish in the interview is, I talked earlier about the competitive nature of interviews. And so you are competing with other individuals. And so what is it about you that stands out from your competitors? And that is something that the interviewer will be looking for, because oftentimes, and maybe there'll be those who will disagree with me, and I would say that my information is not necessarily anecdotal, but oftentimes it's that gut feeling that the interviewer has, that the employer has, as to whether or not you are the best candidate for the role. And I think that what could separate you from the other individuals interviewing for the same role is a level of transparency and being yourself, confident but not overconfident. So I say that because, again, it's something really that's not discussed. The other piece that I think, and I believe this is a natural, is the amount of research that you've done on that company, meaning the company now, the job that you so desire. And I find that when I'm interviewing individuals, I would say probably about at least 40% of the time, interviewing them for leadership roles, actually, 40% of the time, they have not really done appropriate research relative to the role or to, in my case, the institution in which they're applying. So be sure to do that research. Have an understanding of more than just what that company, what does the company do? What do they produce? But what is the mission and objectives and goals of that company? And your ability to be able to speak naturally to that as you're able to insert this information as you're asked questions during the interview. Your knowledge will certainly go a long way if you're able to do your homework. And then the interviewer will appreciate that you have done that homework. Plus the homework that you do in kind of studying, I like to say, a company that which you're applying, is that it tells you about the company. You might have, you saw an ad, you were at, whatever online type of advertising that you became familiar with this role, and it sounded wonderful. You read the job description, but when you actually research the company, it tells you a little bit more about not only just the role, but again about the company, and it is even the company you would like to be part of. So ensure that you do your research. A very, very simple talk, I know, but I really wanted to give some thought into the topic of, again, the professional's interview for success, and to ensure that you're walking in there and just covering those main points, walking into that interview prepared, having the confidence in yourself, but not being overconfident, not selling yourself or having to sell yourself. There's a reason why you're there, as I mentioned in the first place, and then being able to articulate your skills and your abilities from an authentic sense, being very true, being very transparent in terms of who you are. So I hope this talk was helpful to you. My pleasure to have the conversation, and good luck on that next interview.